Hey, friend, thanks for tuning in. This is Benj Miller, host of System and Soul. I hope your systems are running smooth and your soul is full. And today we're going to do something a little special. It's in honor of celebrating the book Renegades, Break Rules, Find Freedom, a book for founders, is now on Audible. To celebrate, we're bringing it to you here live on the podcast. So I hope you enjoyed the first few chapters of Renegades.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go!
This is an audio production of Renegades. Break Rules, Find Freedom, a book for founders. Written by me, Benj Miller, with Chris White and Mackenzie Decker. Narrated also by me, along with some of my friends. Acknowledgements. Our Father in heaven who created us loves us and seeks union with us. Jesus who paid the price for union with the Father, and the Holy Spirit who guides and counsels us. Our spouses who champion us and refine us, Erica Miller, Darlene White, Jake Decker. Our mentors, advisors, coaches, and peers for their necessary community and encouragement. John Ritchie, Tim Spiker, Robbie Engel, John Ott, Clark and Kim Miller, Venture and the Wolfpack, Atlanta Operator Forum, Lieutenant Colonel Scott Mann, Dino Signore, Jonathan Smith, our System and Soul staff, coaches, and Renegade contributors that made this book possible. Entrepreneurship is the last refuge of the troublemaking individual. Natalie Clifford Barney. Preface. Hi, I'm Benj. This is me in 2003. At the time I'm writing this book, 20 years later, I've gotten rid of the frosted tips and earrings, although you never know when that look might come back. I've also become a completely different version of that guy in more ways than one. That guy was pretty impatient to get where he wanted to go. He had lightning bolt ideas and ran at everything full speed. He thought he knew a lot about a lot. He liked being different. He liked being busy and maybe a little overwhelmed. He loved risks and pushing the envelope. He was a renegade if there ever was one. Telling his elementary math teacher he knew a better way to solve the problem. Creating a 4,000 square foot hangout for his friends. Designing his own clothes. And grinding while everyone else was YOLOing. So maybe you'd expect me to say a lot of these things have changed. They haven't. What I would say is I think I've upgraded, evolved, still a renegade, just under new motivations. I think the best and worst of me have been two sides of the same coin. One side driven by fear of losing, missing out, failing, or being mediocre, and the other side driven by love, gratitude, and a greater sense of true identity. In my journey, I've been part of starting 10 businesses. Some of my businesses are thriving, and others didn't make the cut. One company started as just me and a laptop designing logos for local brands. 20 years later, that business has employed dozens of talented marketers and helped some of the world's best known brands. 3 of my businesses have sold, and one, I'd like to call it my biggest failure, included renovating a tour bus that ended up in flames, literally and figuratively. In every case, regardless of the success or failure, the renegade in me was eventually tested. The business sometimes desperately needed me to innovate or break out of a funk, and then other times seemed to spend excess time fixing what I had messed up. I learned over time to recognize those tensions as they happen, and that awareness shapes when and how I show up in my companies today. But that awareness and shift in my thinking didn't happen overnight, or even in a short season of time. It didn't happen because I launched successful businesses or knew a lot of other successful people. It happened so much slower than 2003 Benj would have been able to handle. It happened because I learned what I truly wanted out of my life and work. Freedom to be myself, be the best version of the person I was made to be, and give everyone else in my life the dignity to do the same. Some change happened on purpose, and some of it happened despite me. A lot of it happened because I eventually started listening to the people who were willing to give me honest feedback. John Ritchie, Erica Miller, Chris White, Mackenzie Decker, Jason Ogden, the list goes on. maybe hundreds of people over time have shown me how to shift the lens to my kaleidoscope to see something entirely new. Several years ago, I stepped out of running the business I had co-founded, and started coaching business owners on the ways I'd learned to shift my thinking for the better. Let's just say it didn't go well out of the gate. One of my first clients was a founder who wanted to come in and help her figure out how to accelerate her growth and hold her team accountable. But she was stuck being the chief everything officer. What I could see right away was that she needed to stop driving every project, conversation, and decision in the business. She was standing over every shoulder in her 100-person company, and everyone was afraid to do their job without first getting her approval. Consequently, they couldn't quite figure out who was responsible for what exactly. Tasks and responsibilities seemed to get delegated more often to whoever happened to be walking by her office than the right person in the right role. She was exhausted, the team was confused, and they weren't getting anywhere near the future revenue and profit projections. She needed to give her people a chance to step up and demonstrate their ability. She needed to delegate 90% of what she was doing, spend more time training her top performers, and schedule a long vacation so they could prove to her that they were capable of running the show. So that's what I told her. She didn't like my advice, and at first, I couldn't figure out her resistance. I'd just given her a golden ticket to bypass 20 more years of learning things the hard way and the freedom to go live her life without being everything to everyone. In meeting with her and other founders like her over the years, I discovered that while I knew a lot of helpful ways to eliminate problems in their business, I was missing the biggest challenge of all. When my client said she wanted to accelerate and she wanted accountability, she meant, I want to fix this business. I need help, but I don't want to lose my value in it. I have so much to offer this business. I've literally carried it on my back up until now. It's part of me, and I care more than anyone here that we see it succeed. Don't count me out. Don't make me irrelevant. Duh, Benj, of course. Who would just hand over what they've invested decades of time into just because one guy with a binder full of mental models and team exercises says it's the best move? Even more so, what renegade gives in so easily without first putting up a fight? Once I realized my fellow founders were fighting the same fight I'd been fighting since my frosted tip days, I knew I couldn't just give them the same formula that worked for me. They didn't operate that way. And if I wanted to truly help them, I had to remember to champion their dignity above all. Prescribing something out of the box wasn't what dignity looked like. Dignity was helping them discover how their own genius, breaking the right rules, ignoring the noise that everyone else gets distracted by, following their gut, had a perfect place in their future business. I was one of hundreds of voices telling them the right next step. But if I wanted them to see the path, they needed to know I was fighting alongside them. Chapter 0, The Dilemma. I never set out to write a business book. Seriously, who needs another business book? And yet, here we are. Not because I became an overnight expert, not because I was suddenly struck with inspiration, not because my ego got the best of me. Here's what changed my mind. The book I needed, I couldn't find anywhere. The book that helped me do a tough, lonely job. The book about how to keep your freedom as an entrepreneur and not get stuck in the grind of a growing business. When I started coaching founders and saw I wasn't the only one who needed a better way, that is what changed my mind. As a founder, you are the only one who cares about the future of your business, the products, the ideas, all the revenue streams, relationships, and clients for a long time, maybe years. Most of us don't start out with a capable team, so we have to do all the stuff. And for a while that works until it doesn't. Over time, we run the business well enough, we end up needing to build out a team to help pave the way forward. But when that happens, suddenly we have more cats to herd and problems to solve than ever before. Worst of all, the energy and focus we need to really do our job, the job of the leader, charting the course, bettering the product, or unlocking the market, gets swallowed whole by day-to-day chaos. As I've faced this challenge over the years, I've learned a few ways to get beyond the chaos. Looking back, I think entrepreneurs like us need a resource that gives us freedom to build and dream about business in a way that leverages our strengths, not drains them. I always felt like the freedom I had when I started the business was just out of reach as the business grew, and I struggled to get it back. I felt like my options were to give up trying to get that freedom back or give up the business so I could have freedom. In the decades I've spent building and coaching businesses, I've continually run into the mess so many of us face when we go from Lone Ranger to suddenly herding a stampede. If you're like me, you've read all the classic business books to find the solution. We gain a little freedom when our businesses have better systems, so we've read about systems. We enforce structure, hierarchy, and the rules we play by. There was so much wisdom to gain from the business gurus who told us how great businesses are run. The Advantage by Patrick Lencioni, E-Myth by Michael Gerber, Good to Great by Jim Collins, Principles by Ray Dalio, Rockefeller Habits by Vern Harnish, Traction by Gino Wickman, The 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss, Measure What Matters by John Edor, and so many more. The systematic thinking of these leaders changed the way so many of us run the day-to-day of our organizations. But the business felt dead inside when it was all about following rules and meeting protocols. We recognized that we didn't just need systems, we needed soul to make the business come alive, culture, purpose, and leadership to make what we were doing matter. So we've read all the books about that too. How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey, The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team by Patrick Lencioni, Dare to Lead by Brene Brown, Start with Why by Simon Sinek, The Culture Code by Daniel Coyle, and so many more. All these books are wonderful and incredibly helpful. I'd even say they're necessary. They reshape the way we interact and lead in our work. Frankly, though, they all just left me with more to do. I didn't feel I'd regained my freedom. I was still head down, trying to keep the wheels from falling off. I was left asking, how do I actually do all of this and get the real me back? How does it all fit together in a way that doesn't compound my work? I needed someone to release the pressure valve, not add more to my to-do list. And there was also another tension to contend with inside the business itself. If we systematized everything, we'd build a rigid box around everything inventive we've created. That didn't feel right. My business would become just another soulless machine making average widgets. And if I wanted to instill a real soul in our business, I knew it would be messy, hard to carry out, maybe even useless. Soul seemed elusive, soft, hard to quantify. Worst of all, what if I failed? What if nobody got it, or it didn't make a difference? Then I realized I had a much bigger challenge in front of me than the one I was trying to solve. It had nothing to do with anything I had read. My dilemma was this. Number 1, I don't like systems. I don't like rules. I don't want to be confined or restricted. I'm a renegade. Systems would kill the very nature of me. Number 2, I was stuck trying to make the best choices for the business. I felt like I had to choose one and lose the other. The systems or the soul. The business needed systems. It needed boundaries. It needed more clarity about the direction we were going than to follow my current whim. It needed to have some control. And number 3, I desperately needed to regain the freedom to be the renegade, the visionary, founder, inventor, and dreamer while my business scaled. This was the problem I needed to solve. If that tension and deeply held desire feels relatable, welcome to the club. You are a renegade. I'm glad you're here. If you're working with or surviving a renegade, I'm glad you're here as well. This book will help you understand the seemingly untamable human being and partner with them. And maybe, just maybe, it will awaken a little renegade within yourself. I wrote this book for us to find a way to have freedom without sacrificing any of what we've built. To lead as renegades, free to imagine, focus on the future, and chase possibilities while building a healthy, stable, and mature business to scale. This book is for those who are ready to cross the gap from being a renegade founder to becoming a renegade leader of an audacious team, one that will move beyond anything that you could build on your own. I've found that freedom comes to us when we're willing to let go and invite a team of capable leaders that can take our dream to scale. But let's be clear, we're not going to play by the rules as they're set. Again, not how I roll, and not how you do either. Let's reimagine what it looks like to get ahead, build a business of your dreams faster, more efficient, and holistically without trading your soul. Welcome to the third option, renegades. Before we dive in, I have to warn you. This new way of thinking about your business isn't for everyone. Don't read this book if you want to remain oblivious to the problems you're causing, you're unwilling to face your fears, you refuse to lean into your own vulnerability. Because the third option is as much about looking inward at yourself as it is evaluating your business. Your ability to own up, grow up, let go, be vulnerable, and move forward with courage is everything. Let's ride. Chapter 1, The Renegade. What is a renegade? A person who deserts a set of principles. Skeptic, rebel, rule breaker. You know them when you see them. Peter Pan, Katniss Everdeen, William Wallace, Tommy Boy, Russell Simmons, Elon Musk, Sarah Blakely, Neo, Rob Dyrdek, Elvis, Mark Cuban, Mike Tyson, Ferris Bueller, MacGyver, the original, not the reboot, Mr. Keating. We'll explain some of these examples later. They are individuals who defy stereotypes, refuse to check boxes, stand in line, or follow process. They're partly driven by a rebel spirit and partly by curiosity. The quiet misfits, the tinkerers, the one with summer jobs in high school employing other kids to cut lawns for them. The kid who'd lend you lunch money, but with 10% interest. Smart, different, hard to peg into any one category, and proud of their individuality. They're the people who look past the options laid out in front of them and by some magic feat see a crazy vision of what could be, then figure out how to get there. Apps that let you share your life in pictures, watches that can serve as life alert, home security system, sleep monitor, and phone, online marketplaces that deliver for free with same-day shipping, pharmacies that make the cost of most medicines less than a cup of coffee, ice cream flavors designed purely on smell instead of taste, computer systems that can write, draw, think, translate, and create for you. They speak their own language and are often saying, "What if? I have an idea. Let's try this instead. I bet I can do better. How could we?" Sometimes their instincts lead them to revelations and breakthroughs that change the way the world works. And then other times they start fires that burn perfectly good work to the ground. More to come on that. Renegades are uniquely gifted at the starting line, bolting forward with a new idea and initiating it before anyone else can leave the starting block. Renegades are well loved for their genius and out-of-the-box thinking. Their willingness to not fit in is intriguing and magnetic. They're usually self-appointed leaders, people who don't have the time or patience for raises and promotions doled out by somebody else. They are very often natural-born entrepreneurs or disgruntled employees who believe they can do it better than their boss. And they're probably right. If you're a renegade, you get it. You have the ability to see more than what's in front of you, and you're built to chase down possibility. But for all of your profound abilities and unique insights, our grand ideas and extreme optimism doesn't always guarantee success. Harvard Business School professor William Shulman says, "For every Amazon or Uber, there are scores of companies few can remember." You really don't need a Harvard professor to tell you that, but now you have. As renegades, we live in this reality all the time. So, what separates successful renegades from those that fail and don't recover? Ask the professor. Shulman also says, when a company succeeds, it's because they've discovered and made the right moves along the way. We'll spend a lot of time in this book unpacking how to make the right moves and channel that renegade energy into freedom for you and success for your business. The amazing, often unexpected insight is that your freedom and your business's success are highly correlated. Here's the deal. You got this far because you're really good at breaking rules when they're worth breaking. You're also really good at finding a better way and going hard after it. But if that was working perfectly, you wouldn't be reading this book. You're building something amazing. You see something that could be better, faster, smarter, cheaper, and you're making it happen. You're doing the daily work to bring it to life. You're catalyzing change in an industry no one else could make possible. You're creating jobs and ensuring the livelihoods of people in your community. You're altering the social landscape of your community forever. You're changing the course of your family tree for generations. You're designing your own life. You should feel like you're on top of the world. But you're stuck in the business. It's swallowing you whole and it sucks. This wasn't part of the vision you had in mind. The walls of self-protection you build around yourself become the walls of self-imprisonment over a period of time. Sadhguru. If we can be honest, though, most of us have built our own prisons. We work twice as hard, have twice as much stress, carry all the responsibility, and sometimes earn half the pay to stay a renegade. I've known renegades who have taken meetings and closed business deals while they're in labor at the hospital. I've known renegades who answered email on their wedding day. I've known renegades who spent years traveling 3+ days a week to speak at conferences without getting paid just to get established. And I've been the renegade who sacrificed health, regular exercise, time with my wife and kids, and sleep for the sake of the business. It doesn't work without our fire. It also seems, no matter how hard we work for our business, it doesn't work for us. Too often, renegades end up prioritizing their business and letting so many other areas of our lives suffer. And worse, it's easy to justify. Work feels like 96%, with 1% left for hobbies. My work is my hobby. Health. I'll have more time to focus on myself when... Relationships, they understand. Family, I'm doing this for them. I want to show you how I've not only gotten to the other side of the mess as a renegade, but also how these ideas have helped thousands of other business owners do the same. Some have quadrupled revenue and maximized profits. Some have turned crappy culture into a recognized best places to work. Some went from 10 employees to 300 employees. Some have sold their business for a 15x multiple. Some have been able to retire and empower a team of leaders who can drive the business forward. And all of them would tell you that they found freedom in a way they thought they'd lost a long time ago. Here's the gist. We've got a short list to tackle, but it's going to be challenging. Number 1, we've got to talk about the challenge you're really facing and why it's happening. Face reality. Number 2, then we'll lay the foundation for how you get out of it. Do the groundwork. Number 3, next, you've got some important decisions to make. Shift your thinking. Number 4, lastly, there's a plot twist, but it's all good news. Note, as a renegade, I know you hate labels and narrowly defined boxes, so we'll take experiences and recommendations in this book for what you will. Not everything applies here to every founder's story, but I think you'll find a few ideas that ring true for you and can help you get to the other side of the gap.
Hey listeners, if you're loving what you're hearing and you want to keep listening, I've got a special offer for you to access the rest of this audiobook for free. We've got a limited number of free downloads we're giving away to listeners who are willing to leave us a review on Audible. Yep, that's it. If you will leave us a review on Audible, we will give you access to the complete audiobook. If you want in, here's how to listen for free. First, reach out to us at podcast@systemandsoul.com to get a unique link to access the book. Next, you're going to use your claim code to download the book, give it a listen, and then leave us a 5-star review. Bonus step is to share this book with a friend who needs it. There's plenty of renegades out there who need this wisdom. We only have a handful of codes to give away, so if you want one, reach out as soon as you can. Instructions are also included in the show notes. As always, thank you guys for listening. We'll see you next time.